So let's talk game theory. If firms are seeking to maximize profit, and firms are of the large sort, think oligopolies or monopolies, where there's either no competition or just a few competitors, then your decision making is going to be pretty interdependent. And you need to consider the moves that your competitors are going to make every time you make a move. So it's a little bit more like a game of chess. What is game theory? The study of behavior in situations of interdependence, a way of predicting outcomes in strategic situations like oligopolies. To begin with, let's talk about the assumptions that we're making. We're talking about oligopoly, and it's not an oligopoly that's about to become a monopoly, because a monopoly is going to do something different. So this is an oligopoly, and we assume that every player or every firm knows all the payoffs fully and is intent on maximizing profit rather than something else, and that they're fairly rational. And here's a quote from the originator of game theory. If you say, "Why not bomb them tomorrow?" I say, "Why not today?" If you say today at 5 o'clock, I say, "Why not 1 o'clock?" So it's this idea of being able to predict in a systematic way why firms sometimes cooperate and sometimes compete. Oligopoly is a type of market structure that's alone in being kind of unpredictable and not having a nice set of graphs that we can use to, without fail, tell what's going to happen with the price. But of course, game theory isn't just useful for firms and profit. It's also useful for understanding climate change solutions, for nuclear proliferation solutions. It's game theory and its solutions are really a powerful tool for a lot of the world's big problems. So you should also know that oligopolies operate under legal restrictions in the form of antitrust law. So inasmuch as free market capitalism is supposed to be sitting on top of competition as well as self-interest, and so the government needs to protect competition, it's going to make sure that oligopolies don't get too powerful, right? Because the idea is you don't want firms being able to manipulate the market to drive up prices and hurt consumers just to fatten their bottom line. And it might be interesting to note that our first antitrust legislation came from the railroad trusts. So large firms and cartels, which are basically just a really formal form of oligopoly where the firms get together and act like a monopoly. The good way to get profit is to act like a monopoly, but there's always a temptation for firms to cheat on the agreement, because if they produce a little bit more or run the trains a few more routes, they can pick up some extra customers and get some extra cash. And unfortunately, this reduces the price. As you increase the supply of a product, it reduces the price. And this is going to hurt the profits of the incumbent firms. So this cheating on the agreement problem is a problem that almost all cartels face, almost all oligopolies face. So Rockefeller figured out a way around it by creating trusts controlled by a single board of trustees. And that solution and determination to screw over the public to add more profit to already powerful and rich firms and people resulted in quite a public backlash and your first anti-monopoly laws in the late 1800s. So the cartel model is the most formal agreement that oligopolies can have. It is also illegal. You do see cartels operating legally internationally, like the OPEC, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, is a cartel. And although there's U.S. laws against cartels, there's no international law against it. So what do you do if you want to increase your profit, but it's illegal to cooperate with your mates? Well, try tacit collusion. So this is doing it without formal agreements. It's doable. It's done all the time. It's tricky sometimes. And the ability and willingness of people to not cheat on the agreement. Usually it goes like, you want to hold back production to keep up prices, basically. That's how OPEC works. That's how drug cartels often work, controlling and becoming more like a monopoly. But it's hard when you've got a lot of different firms and it's less concentrated. It's harder to get everyone together to agree. If it's complex products and pricing scheme, it's easier for people to cheat on each other because they can hide. If there's differences in what you're trying to do, profit versus growth, for instance, and if the buyers have some bargaining power, then you're going to be limited in how much you can extract from them. And there's even one more strategy called the price leadership. So if things break down and you become competitive with your other firms, it's a price war. So how do you get around that? Well, you try to collude or you try to cooperate with each other, but doesn't always happen. So you could try to product differentiate as well, so that you have more control over your customers. But also, you can, and this happens sometimes, happens in the cereal industry, for instance, where one firm will sort of become the de facto price leader and all the other firms just watch to see what they do and then they copy. And it's just as effective as price fixing. As long as everybody goes along with it, you can keep a price higher than it otherwise would be if people trust the leader and they've established a pattern. And here's just a humorous look at Christmas and the war to get Christmas earlier and earlier, which of course is a strategy for firms to beat each other to the consumers that are going to be buying stuff for Christmas. And that's some stuff you need to know about game theory going forward. Enjoy your day.